Cruise lines are banking on seniors not knowing about this. If you're over 65 and thinking about extended cruise living, there are 7 hidden dangers that could cost you your health, your savings, and even your independence. And the cruise industry? They're hoping you never find out. Listen, last month, a 72-year-old retired teacher used 3 of these warnings to avoid a $47,000 medical evacuation bill and a potential health crisis. Same cruise line, same ship class, but she knew what to ask before booking her 6-month voyage. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to watch for and the specific questions that protect your health and wallet every single time. Let's dive in. Danger number 7, the medical care illusion. One 68-year-old couple from Florida booked a 90-day world cruise thinking the ship's medical center would handle their routine care. Within 3 weeks, the husband needed his blood pressure medication adjusted, something his doctor back home did regularly. The ship's medical staff couldn't access his records, couldn't prescribe the specific dosage he needed, and charged him $250 just for the consultation. When his condition worsened 2 weeks later, they faced a choice: continue without proper care or pay $89,000 for a helicopter evacuation to Miami. Ship medical centers are designed for emergencies and minor ailments, not chronic condition management. If you're over 65 with diabetes, heart conditions, or require regular monitoring, you're essentially on your own. Most seniors assume the medical center is like their doctor's office at home. The reality? These facilities are staffed by general practitioners who rotate every few months, have limited diagnostic equipment, and cannot provide continuity of care. Here's what you need to know. Medical staff cannot access your medical history or communicate with your regular doctors. Prescription refills require full consultations at $150 to $300 per visit. Specialized care for dialysis, chemotherapy, or physical therapy is unavailable. Medical evacuations from international waters average $35,000 to $100,000. Medicare doesn't cover medical care outside the U.S., including ships in international waters. Rule of thumb: if you need to see your doctor more than twice a year, cruise living isn't sustainable. The magic phrase when booking: can you provide written confirmation of what medical services are available for my specific conditions and what your medical evacuation insurance covers? Pro tip: purchase third-party medical evacuation insurance from companies like MedJet or Global Rescue before any cruise over 14 days. It's $300 to $500, but could save you $100,000. Now, that medical trap is serious, but this next one hits your wallet even harder. Danger number 6, the fixed income trap. A 70-year-old widow on a fixed pension thought she'd found the perfect solution: living on a cruise ship for $3,200 a month, cheaper than her assisted living options. She budgeted carefully, tracking every dollar. But within 60 days, her actual spending hit $6,800 per month. She hadn't accounted for the nickel and diming that cruise ships are designed to extract. By month 4, she'd burned through $18,000 of her emergency savings and had to disembark early, scrambling to find housing back home. Every single aspect of ship life is engineered to make you spend beyond your base fare. And for seniors on fixed incomes, this can be financially devastating. Most retirees calculate the daily rate and think they found a bargain, but base fare covers only your cabin and basic dining. Everything else costs extra. Here are the hidden costs that add up. Internet packages, $20 to $40 per day, essential for managing finances, prescriptions, family contact. Specialty dining, $25 to $75 per person. You'll tire of the main dining room. Laundry, $3 to $8 per item. No in-cabin washers for long-term residents. Beverages, $8 to $15 per drink. Water, coffee, all add up. Gratuities, $15 to $20 per person per day, often auto-charged. Shore excursions, $50 to $200 per port, or you're stuck on the ship. Cruise lines use cashless systems with your cruise card. You never see money leaving your hand, so spending feels painless. By the time you get your statement, you've spent thousands without realizing it. The magic phrase at guest services: "I'm on a fixed budget." Can you set a daily spending limit on my cruise card and alert me when I'm approaching it? Insider move: calculate your true monthly cost at 2.5 times the base fare. That's the realistic number for comfortable senior living with necessary amenities. Think that's bad? Wait until you hear about the physical reality cruise lines pray you never discover. But before that, pause right here for a second. Those first two dangers alone could save you over $50,000 in unexpected costs and medical bills. But what I'm about to reveal next involves something that happens to your body after 60 days at sea that doctors are only now beginning to understand. Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss these critical warnings. The next 5 dangers are where most seniors get trapped. Danger number 5. The mobility decline nobody warns you about. A 66-year-old retired nurse from Oregon boarded her 4-month cruise walking independently with just a cane. By month 3, she needed a wheelchair. Her doctor later explained that extended time on a moving ship, combined with reduced walking space and repetitive environments, had accelerated her mobility decline by an estimated 2 years. She went from independent living to needing daily assistance, all because nobody warned her about this hidden risk. Living on a ship for extended periods can actually worsen age-related mobility issues faster than living on land. Most seniors think the ship's gym and walking the deck will keep them active. The reality is that the constant motion affects your inner ear and balance. The confined spaces limit natural movement patterns, and the repetitive routes reduce the physical and cognitive stimulation that keeps seniors mobile. What's really happening? Ship motion affects balance and increases fall risk, especially for those over 70. Limited walking routes mean less varied physical activity than normal daily life. Elevators and assistants create dependency faster than aging in place. Rough seas can confine you to your cabin for days, accelerating muscle loss. Falls on ships result in traumatic brain injuries, broken bones, and facial trauma at higher rates. Ships prioritize convenience and accessibility, which sounds good, but actually encourages physical dependence. The easier everything is, the less you move, and the faster you decline. The magic phrase to your doctor before booking: "Can you assess my current mobility and advise if extended cruise living might accelerate any decline?" Pro tip: if you're over 70, limit continuous cruising to 30-day segments with 2-week breaks on land to maintain your baseline mobility and balance. But here's where it gets even more concerning. Danger number 4, the social isolation paradox. A 69-year-old widower from Texas thought cruise living would cure his loneliness. Thousands of people, constant activities, new friends every week. But after 4 months, he told his daughter he'd never felt more alone. Every friendship he started ended within 7 days when people disembarked. He was surrounded by people but had no real connections. By month 5, he was showing signs of depression his family had never seen before. The revolving door of passengers creates a unique form of isolation that's particularly damaging for seniors who need stable social connections for cognitive health. Most seniors assume being around people equals social connection. The reality is that meaningful relationships require time and continuity, 2 things that don't exist when everyone around you is on a 1-week vacation. The isolation factors. 95% of passengers disembark within 7 to 14 days, making lasting friendships nearly impossible. Other long-term residents are often much older or have different interests. Crew members are friendly but prohibited from forming personal relationships with passengers. The repetitive environment reduces cognitive stimulation that seniors need. Extended family members remain thousands of miles away for months at a time. Research shows seniors need stable social networks for mental health and cognitive function. Social isolation among older adults is linked to a 26% increased risk of all-cause mortality, increased risk of dementia, heart disease, stroke, anxiety, and depression. The constant turnover on ships can actually increase depression and accelerate cognitive decline. Insider move: Before committing to long-term cruise living, spend time in the ship's long-term resident lounge and meet others doing the same. If you don't connect with at least 3 people, reconsider. Now, this next one is more shocking for seniors. Danger number 3, the emergency evacuation reality. A 74-year-old man with a pacemaker had a cardiac event while his ship was 3 days from the nearest port. The medical evacuation by helicopter cost $89,000. His insurance denied the claim because it was considered non-emergency transport. He's still paying off the debt 2 years later, and it's destroyed his retirement savings. If you have a serious medical emergency at sea and you're over 65 with pre-existing conditions, you could face 6-figure bills that insurance won't cover. Most seniors assume their Medicare or supplemental insurance covers emergencies anywhere. Maritime medical evacuations are often classified differently, and international waters create coverage gaps that can bankrupt you. The coverage gaps. Medicare doesn't cover medical care outside the U.S., including ships in international waters. Medical evacuations are often deemed non-emergency transport and denied. Cruise line liability is limited under maritime law. Pre-existing conditions are often excluded from travel insurance policies. Air ambulance transport with ICU setup can cost $50,000 to $200,000 plus. When emergencies require immediate disembarkation, seniors face logistical nightmares. Ships may make a hard U-turn to get within Coast Guard range. Family members may be thousands of miles away. Language barriers complicate care in foreign hospitals. The magic phrase to your insurance provider: does my policy cover medical evacuation from international waters, and are my pre-existing conditions excluded from coverage? Pro tip: purchase a specialized maritime medical evacuation policy before any cruise over 30 days. Companies like MedJet or Global Rescue offer coverage specifically designed for cruise living. All right, real talk. This next danger is where the cruise industry's design actually works against seniors. Danger number 2, the norovirus and outbreak cycle. In 2025, cruise ships reported 20 gastrointestinal outbreaks, the most ever recorded since the CDC began tracking in 1994. One recent outbreak infected 13.1% of passengers. A 71-year-old woman with a compromised immune system contracted norovirus on day 12 of her 90-day cruise. The vomiting and diarrhea led to severe dehydration. She spent 3 days in the ship's medical center at $400 per day, then required a $35,000 medical evacuation to a hospital in Puerto Rico. She survived, but the experience left her traumatized and financially devastated. Cruise ships are prime environments for highly contagious viruses. Enclosed environments, buffet-style dining, shared spaces, and close proximity make disease spread rapid and efficient. Seniors are particularly vulnerable to norovirus complications. The biggest risk is dehydration from vomiting and diarrhea, which can be life-threatening for older adults. Why this keeps happening? Hundreds of new passengers board weekly, each carrying whatever viruses are circulating back home. Buffet-style dining creates multiple contamination points. Shared elevators, handrails, and door handles spread germs rapidly. Air circulation systems can distribute airborne pathogens. Even with enhanced cleaning protocols, outbreaks remain a persistent threat. For a week-long vacationer, getting sick is an inconvenience. For a senior living on board permanently, your exposure is nonstop, and each outbreak puts your health at serious risk. Rule of thumb: if you have a compromised immune system or chronic respiratory conditions, cruise living multiplies your infection risk by 10 times compared to land-based living. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to this final danger. Danger number 1, the mobility and accessibility nightmare. A 73-year-old couple booked a 6-month Mediterranean cruise. The husband used a mobility scooter but was otherwise independent. They specifically chose ports they'd always dreamed of visiting: Santorini, Dubrovnik, Kotor. What they didn't know, most of these ports are tender ports, where ships anchor offshore and use small boats to ferry passengers to land. When they arrived at their first tender port, crew members informed them that wheelchairs and mobility scooters cannot be accommodated on tender boats. They were trapped on the ship. Port after port, they watched other passengers disembark while they remained behind. Out of 15 ports, they could only visit 4. They'd paid for a dream voyage and ended up prisoners on their own ship. Cruise ships advertise accessibility features, but the reality is far more complicated. Tender ports pose major obstacles for seniors with mobility issues. The accessibility barriers. Most cruise lines cannot accommodate wheelchairs or mobility scooters on tender boats. Passengers must be able to stand, walk independently or with minimal assistance, and step on and off moving boats. Crew members are not permitted to carry wheelchairs into tenders. Many shore excursions have age restrictions or mobility requirements that exclude seniors over 70. Piers can be extremely long, requiring extensive walking just to reach tour buses. Tour buses often lack wheelchair lifts. Rough seas make tender operations impossible, canceling port visits entirely. Even on ships with accessible cabins, doorways are narrow, bathrooms are cramped, and emergency evacuation procedures don't account for mobility-impaired passengers. Here's your complete strategy. Before booking, request a detailed list of all ports and identify which are tender ports. Contact the cruise line's accessibility department and get written confirmation of what assistance is available. Ask, can you guarantee I'll be able to disembark at tender ports with my mobility device? Research each port independently. Don't rely on cruise line descriptions. Book only cruises where 80% plus of ports have direct docking. Purchase travel insurance that covers trip interruption if you cannot access ports. Bring a collapsible wheelchair in addition to a scooter for tender situations. Join online forums for mobility-impaired cruisers to learn which ships and itineraries actually work. The insider secret. Some cruise lines now offer roll-on tender capability, but it's rare and must be confirmed in writing before booking. Princess Cruises and Holland America have better track records than most. Pro tip, if you use a mobility device, avoid Mediterranean, Greek islands, and Caribbean itineraries with multiple tender ports. Alaska and Northern Europe have better direct dock accessibility. This single issue has ruined countless senior cruises. Yet most travelers still book without asking these critical questions. But here's what happens after you know these 7 dangers. Most seniors think avoiding these traps is enough, but there's a whole other category of risks involving legal issues, medication access in foreign ports, and what happens when you need to leave the ship permanently, but you've given up your home. I'm talking about passport complications, prescription refills in foreign countries, and the nightmare scenario of needing assisted living care while you're mid-ocean. One 71-year-old couple used these exact strategies and avoided visa violations, medication shortages, and a $25,000 emergency repatriation. Watch that video next. It could save your retirement dream from becoming a nightmare. And I'll see you there.